Afternoon, everyone. Welcome back. I'm Kathryn, and this is MaryAnne. And we're here again today to talk about MaryAnne's book called Miracles. Um, I met MaryAnne a couple of years ago back in Bible study, and we talked about that earlier. But fascinating book. I read it in one day, and it just was riveting. My mouth just dropped open. I cried through some of the
Mm,
parts, I laughed through some of the parts. Very touching story.
mhm,
And it's so touching that I'm so glad she's doing this because it shows that children who come from trauma, who've
mhm,
had trauma in their life, can actually get healed.
mhm.
And I would call that a miracle.
Yeah.
And that's what your story's about,
Mhm.
you know. So as we continue, so now we're going to go on to another chapter, which is called Guardian Angels. And in the book, it says that this is when your dad was in the military, but then he took a job
Mhm.
in the restaurant.
Yes, he took a job as a restaurant manager because we were just struggling with six kids, but they were struggling with six kids and just couldn't make ends meet. So whenever he was home, he took a job as a manager at a steak place, and it was in Ocean City, Maryland, um, which is on the East Coast. And so we were so poor we couldn't afford a house or anything, so there was a very rundown hotel, and we couldn't afford to live in Ocean City because it was very expensive. And so my mom and my dad, we they found an old hotel in Berlin, Maryland, and it was a very rundown hotel. And I don't know if they were in the process of looking for a place they could afford. I'm not sure
Mm-hmm.
why we lived there. I'm not really sure. I was very young,
Mm-hmm.
but we lived in a hotel, and it was a very old. They did not have bathrooms in the rooms. They actually had bathrooms in the hallways, and you had to go out of your room and go down the hallway to use the bathroom or take a shower. So yeah.
Was that a big deal at that time?
Oh,
Or as a child?
well, I remember as a child thinking this isn't normal. Most kids live in a house,
Oh, yeah. Okay.
but it was very. We met a lot of people in that hotel that were strange. We met a lot of people that were that became friends with my mom and dad. They became friends with us.
Mm.
So it was
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
So, so looking back at your story, I see these little bits of Jesus weave
Hmm.
throughout your life.
Yeah.
Like when you were a child, you liked watching the Ten Commandments. You liked
Hmm.
looking at the angel that your mom had that would
Hmm.
give you some comfort.
Yeah.
And then here's another thing with this guy called Sandman.
Hmm.
Tell me about Sandman.
So my mom would take us to Ocean City, Maryland, to the beach, and there was a guy there. His nickname was the Sandman. Everybody knew the Sandman. So he would go there, and he did incredible sculptures of out of sand, and there would be the Last Supper, or it would be the cross. He would do Jesus on the cross.
Mm.
Unbelievable how
Wow.
he was able to use sand and make these sculptures look so real life. And so I remember as a child, I wasn't interested in going in the ocean. I would just sit there and watch him,
I'm mesmerized, huh?
mesmerized, yes, by him and his talent. I mean, it was unbelievable. The eyes look so real, the hands look so real. It was amazing. So there was another drawing to the Lord at a very young age that was uncommon to most kids. Most kids would have just been, oh, I'm going to go play in the ocean. But I had and I did play in the ocean too. But I remember my heart was drawn to the
Wow.
Sandman. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that kind of leads us into her first miracle when she was a child.
Hmm.
Um, so tell me about that because you said that you went across the street to the store
Hmm. Yeah.
and you were 5 or 6, and you know that your parents probably would have never allowed you to do that,
Right.
right?
Right.
So tell me about what
So
happened.
when I went across the street, it was just maybe a five big steps across the street. Was we lived at that hotel, and my brother and I would go. It was a five and dime. If people our age know what a five and dime is, it's a little
I
tiny
miss those stores.
store. Yeah, and you could buy candy for a nickel. You could buy candy for a few pennies. So Chris, my brother Chris, and I would cross the street, and as long as he was with me, my mom would give us some money, and we would go over. And they also sold ice cream, so you could buy
Mm,
ice cream cones. So we would go over there and buy candy, and for whatever reason, this particular day, I wanted to go get candy, and my brother was nowhere to be around. And so I took it upon myself to go by myself. I don't know if I had money already that my mom gave me, because I know my mother would never have just said, oh,
right.
go across the street by yourself and get candy. So I was at the crosswalk, and I knew from my brother that you were supposed to press the little button and wait for,
Mm,
wait, or and I'm not even sure there was a little button in those days, but we were waiting for the light to cross. Where I was waiting for the light to change and turn red, and I knew that was what we needed to do. So I was standing there in the corner on the sidewalk, and the light began to turn yellow, and it turned red. And as soon as it turned red, I stepped down on the asphalt, get in the crosswalk to cross, and an amazing force, a force that is unexplainable,
mm.
came and pushed me all the way back up on top of the sidewalk. And I landed on my rear end in the back on the sidewalk about 2 feet back.
Wow,
And I
wow.
remember as a child, I thought I was hit by a car. Like that's what I thought. Like because this, as I was being shoved back, this car went right through the red light,
Oh,
going
wow.
very, very fast. So at first, when the force threw me back, I thought I was hit by the car, but I knew I wasn't. And so I remember as a little child being so confused, like, what just happened? Like, what? I wasn't hurt. I wasn't hit. There was not that kind of a force where I was hit by a car.
Right.
It was a supernatural force that threw me
Um,
back on the sidewalk. And I remember looking around, and there was just nobody. There was nobody. And it wasn't until I was much older that I realized that that was a supernatural act, whether it was my guardian angels, whether it was angels,
mm,
the hand of God, whatever it was supernatural. And that was my very first miracle at 5 years old that I remember very, very well. And I know now I was not hit by a car. I was not hit by a car. I was forced back by a force, supernatural force, to protect my life
to
at
save
five
your
years
life.
old.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's amazing.
yeah,
Such a young age,
such a
you
young
know.
age. Yeah,
And that I wouldn't put it past where that happened to a lot of people,
yeah. I'm sure with
you
this
know.
video being out,
Hmm.
uh, I might get some responses. I'd love to hear from you and put it in the comments if something like that has ever happened to you and you were too afraid to tell people and you didn't know what it was. I didn't know what it was until I became a believer in Christ. I knew as I got older that it wasn't the car. I wasn't hit by a car, but I didn't know until I gave my life to Christ that it was actually the hand of God. And whether it was angels or the Holy Spirit pushing me back, something pushed me back off of the road and kept
Hmm.
me from getting hit by the car. And I remember the car being red. I
Wow,
remember that. I don't know what
wow.
kind of car it was, but it was a red
It was a
car.
red
It was
car.
a red car.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
Yes, at such a young age. Yes.
yeah,
That's a good story.
yeah.
That's amazing, really.
Yeah, and I would love to hear from the listeners out there of your miracles. If you've had a miracle, something like that as a child, and I hear a lot of children have supernatural encounters with angels or have miracles. I'd love to hear your stories. I really would.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Um, your next chapter, we'll go first into this. It's Truth and Lies, and this was back when you were like 8 years old,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And you seemed to be like a sickly child.
Yeah. Had a lot of health issues. Yeah.
Okay, but the doctors did recommend that you go to Arizona, so that was probably a
Mm-hmm.
good thing that you
Mm-hmm.
guys went to Arizona,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah. And I've developed bronchitis, very, very bad. Yes,
Wow.
bronchitis.
So this chapter um, broke my heart.
Mm,
It brought tears to my eyes,
yeah.
and I was very sad to hear
Mm-hmm.
what happened to you
Mm-hmm.
with this chapter.
Mm-hmm.
Um, did you want to talk about it to the audience, or just go through a little bit of it,
Yeah.
or
Go through a little bit of it,
okay?
and yeah,
So
yeah.
so with this, your dad, but you did love your dad. He was a hard worker. You said he was
Mm-hmm.
very smart,
Mm-hmm.
a good businessman, and he loved to laugh and have fun.
My
Yeah.
dad did love to laugh and have fun. Yes, he did.
So that summer he got a job at the Holiday Inn.
Hmm.
And you guys, and tell us a little bit about that.
Well, first of all, he retired from the military, and we moved to Arizona. So when we moved from Arizona, or from the West Coast or the East Coast, I'm sorry, the East Coast to Arizona, it was all new for us. We had never seen what a cactus looks like. We didn't know. We thought when we moved over there would be streets of dirt and people would be riding horses. A lot of people think that about Arizona. So we were waiting to see the cowboys and Indians when we moved to Arizona. But it was a normal city and had cars and all that. But yes, we moved to Arizona. But my father, being that he really didn't have a whole lot of experience in um, those kind of jobs outside of the military, other than the steakhouse that he had, and when we in Ocean City, he was looking for a job in Tucson and landed a couple of jobs that he didn't like, and but then he ended up landing a very good job in Holiday Inn. And so he took that job, and he also took another job too as a security guard out at the Desert Museum. For those of you in Arizona, you know the Desert Museum. So he took a security guard as in the evenings and at night, late at night, all through the night actually, and then during the day he worked. So he worked. He was a hard worker, and so again, I never saw him a lot. So he worked two jobs.